Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the day 6 of our 10-day free NET-JRF Crash Course, Embark, conducted by MSF EFLU Hyderabad. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Shaheen Ahmed Sir, JRF holder and a proud graduate of EFLU University, and also an expert on the topic logical reasoning. We are privileged to have him guide us through the intricacies of logical reasoning. I extend my warm welcome to the entire audience and especially our faculty member, Mr. Shaheen Ahmed. Without further ado, may this session be both enlightening and enriching for all of us. And I hand it over to Mr. Shaheen Ahmed. So, sir, please.
Thank you, Hamzan. So let me open the PPT just a second. So I hope the PPT is visible to you, right? Am I audible?
Yeah, it is visible now. Visible, yeah.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, so respected dignitaries of MSF EFLU and my dear students, actually I'm very happy to participate in this kind of a crash course to lead a session on logical reasoning. And I'm very much grateful to MSF for organizing this kind of a program, which will be helpful for a large number of students. So I appreciate the organizers of the program, and I also appreciate you people for joining this kind of a session in the last minutes of net examination. So coming to my part, this is logical reasoning. So UGC and NTA has given a detailed syllabus of logical reasoning, and the problem is that there will be only 5 questions from this part. So this is the vast syllabus of UGC. So this is the vast syllabus of logical reasoning part. There will be formal and informal fallacies, understanding the structure of arguments, argument forms, the structure of categorical prepositions, mood and figure, uses of language, connotations, denotations of terms, classical square of opposition, evaluating and distinguishing deductive and inductive reasoning, analogies, Venn diagram, Indian logic, pramanas, then the different types, pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Arthabadi, and Anupallabdi, then structure and kinds of Anumana, Vyapti, Hetubhasas. So the problem that I found even when I wrote UGC NET examination in the last cycle, the problem was that we have to study a large part, we have to cover up a large syllabus, but at the same time there will be only 5 questions, so we cannot assure the questions and the parts from which that comes. And also again there comes another problem that I personally faced when I was preparing for this session, because as you know, this is a vast syllabus, and since this involves something that is logic, this is logical reasoning, which means it involves some kind of logic. So I can't give you a list of notes and ask you to study, because that's not possible, because it involves some kind of logic. So I have to explain the logic behind each part, and which requires much of time. So I feel that I can cover mainly 2 portions in today's session, if possible 3 portions. So first part I will be dealing with is the formal and informal fallacies. Then if time permits, I will go to this inductive and deductive reasoning. Then if time permits, I prefer to go to this classical square of opposition. So that's it. So coming to this fallacy part, what are fallacies? So I'm just asking, can the participant, can they speak or can they comment?
Yeah, the mics are muted now. They can speak.
Okay. So let me try to turn on my video. So what are fallacies? So fallacies are generally defined as its mistakes in reasoning. So when we make some kinds of statements of some kinds of reasoning, a reasoning means it involves there will be a statement, there will be a reason for that statement. So when some errors happen in or when some mistakes happen in such types of reasoning, that is called fallacies. So let me introduce you some basic some previous year questions that appeared in the UGC NET examination, which covering the part of fallacies. So all of you, please go to this question. The question is: all your friends are going to the party, therefore you should go too. What kind of fallacy does this inference commit? So the options are given: ad hominem, strawman fallacy, ad populum or the appeal to the people. Then the final option is appeal to authority. So when we happen to see this question for the first time, we might have some kind of guess in our mind. So if possible, can you type your guesses in the chat box? Okay. I think most of you have covered this part. Anyway, so let me go to the next question. I'm not going to discuss the answer as of now. We will be discussing the answer in the final part after discussing the syllabus. So next question is: which informal fallacy is committed in the following statement? We should not ban smoking because it is a personal choice and people should have the freedom to do what they want. So the options are false dilemma, ad hominem, appeal to emotion, equivocation. So can you please comment the answers that you have? Okay. So unlike the previous question, now the chat box has diverse answers, diverse options. So let's go to one more question. Which type of fallacy is evident in the following statement? You can't possibly understand what I am going through because you have never been a parent. So the options are slippery slope, appeal to ignorance, ad hominem, circular argument. Okay. Okay. Appeal to ignorance. So I think most people commented it is appeal to ignorance. So let us go to, so we will be having a discussion of this question in the final part also. So let us go to the basic idea of fallacies. So as I mentioned earlier, fallacies are errors in some kind of state, errors in some kind of reasoning that we make. And basically fallacies are divided into two types. There are formal fallacies as well as informal fallacies. So formal fallacy refers to, these are characterized by arguments that possess an invalid structure or form. So if you are given a reasoning, and if you want to identify whether it is formal fallacy or informal fallacy, so if there is a mistake in the structure or in the form of that reasoning, it will be formal fallacy. And if the errors are there in the arguments, or if the errors are there in the arguments, which means that are informal fallacy. And so far we haven't noticed any questions in UGC that ask us whether this statement is a formal fallacy or informal fallacy. Instead of such type of question, we usually ask for different types of formal fallacy. They will, as we have seen in the previous question, they will give you a reasoning there, then they will ask you which type of fallacy is there, not the formal and informal, but the subtypes of formal and informal. So there are mainly two types of formal fallacies. The first one is appeal to probability, which means this is a statement. This is a statement that takes something for granted, because it is probable or possible. So statement that takes something for granted, it is probable or possible. Suppose if there is a dark cloud outside and which usually rains, so we are making a kind of statement that okay, it's going to rain here today. I see a dark cloud on the horizon. Dark clouds mean rain. It is going to rain here today. So this kind of, here we are making a statement based on the probability. So these types of fallacy is called appeal to probability, which means we are depending on we have the previous experiences of, we have similar previous experience, so we are expecting the same to happen today itself. So this type of fallacy is called appeal to probability. Then there is a second type of fallacy, that is masked man fallacy or intentional fallacy. We have covered this intentional fallacy and affective fallacy in our literature part, but it's unlike this fallacy. So it's another name of masked man fallacy. This involves a substitution of parties. If the two things that are interchanged are identical, then the argument is assumed to be valid. For example, so you happen to see your friend in a cafe, in a cafeteria, sitting with a beard guy, and you haven't noticed, you haven't seen the face of this beard guy, but you think that okay, I know a beard person, who is having a similar beard, and so this might be that person, and you are making a conclusion based on that. Here the problem is that you haven't come to know about the immediate identity of the person. You only know some of the related identities, and you are interchanging that with some other person's identity, and you are reaching in a conclusion. So that is the example given here. Jeremiah's private investigator reported that a man with a beard was having dinner with his wife. Jeremiah's best friend Ronnie has a beard, therefore it was Ronnie who was there with Jeremiah's wife. So when this statement is when this statement comes to false, we can say that this is a kind of masked man fallacy or intentional fallacy. So these are the two types of formal fallacies. So now we are moving to informal fallacies. Though there are only two fallacies under formal fallacy, there is a large number of informal fallacies. So the first one is first type. There are mainly three types, and under these three types there are different subtypes. So first one is fallacies of presumption of truth without evidence. So we will be presupposing something, and that won't be have any kind of evidence. So there are many different types of this fallacies of presumption. So the first one is complex question fallacy. A complex question fallacy occurs when someone asks a question that presupposes the answer to another question that has not been established or accepted by the other person. So in its simple terms, if you ask your friend that, are you going to admit that you are mad? So you are asking the question, are you going to admit that you are mad? So the problem of this question, or the speciality of this fallacy, is that whether your friend responds yes or no, it is undoubtable that he or she is mad. Because if he or she answers that, are you going to admit that you are mad? And if he or she answers that, okay, yes, then which means that I am mad and I admit that I am mad. And if he or she answers no, which means that I am mad, but I don't admit that I am mad. So this is the fallacy of these types of questions. So I remember, I think you might have come across different movies in which there will be this is a normal question that is raised in the court process when there is some the sitting in the judiciary happens. So when there is a case happens, at the same time, this is the usual question. These types of complex question fallacies are usually used by advocates to trouble the accused or to trouble the culprits. So this is the complex question fallacy. Then there is this hasty generalization fallacy. So this is the second type. The hasty generalization fallacy, also known as the overgeneralization fallacy, is the logical fallacy of making a claim based on a sample size far too small to support the claim. So if you are making a kind of claim, or if you are making a argument based on a few evidences, which means these evidences are not sufficient to make such kind of a generalized statement, but at the same time, with that much few evidences, if you are making a kind of generalization statement, that is called hasty generalization fallacy. So here we can see the example. I have met two people in Greece so far, and they were both nice to me. So all the people I will meet in Greece will be nice to me. So the person is giving a reason, that is, I met two people from Greece and they are nice to me. So all the people in Greece will be nice to me. So the problem here is that these two people, comparing to the population of the Greece, these two people is very few, which means they don't even represent 1% of the total population of the Greece. But at the same time, based on his experience with this minute population, he is generalizing, he is applying the he is reaching in a conclusion which affects all the 100% of the population, and he concludes that all people in Greece will be nice to me. So this types of fallacy is called hasty generalization fallacy. So I don't think you won't be having I don't think you will be having any problem in understanding this hasty generalization, because the term itself is there in the title also, the hasty generalization fallacy. So coming to the third type, that is the fallacy of accident. So the fallacy of accident is committed by an argument that applies a general rule to a particular case in which some special circumstance or accident makes the rule inapplicable. So there will be some general rules regarding something. So for example, the rule given is that taking a life is crime and morally wrong. So taking a life, it's crime and morally wrong, and nobody will be having any kind of doubts regarding this general rule. But at the same time, in some particular cases or in some specific cases, when we apply this general rule, that will be inappropriate, that will be inapplicable. So such an example is given. Even though taking life is crime and morally wrong, we cannot say that termite control is crime and morally wrong. So if you are making a kind of conclusion that taking a life is crime and morally wrong, therefore the termite control is a crime and morally wrong. So which means that these types of fallacies are called fallacies of accident. Here the thing is that the general rule, it is there, but at the same time the problem is that in particular instances we cannot use that general rule. Then this causal fallacy or post hoc ergo propter hoc. So this is a complicated term. If you happens to see only this causal fallacy without going through the syllabus, you might be able to answer the question. But at the same time, if you happen to see post hoc ergo propter hoc, you will be okay. What is this? Okay, I cannot even read or understand this term. So a causal fallacy occurs when someone incorrectly assumes that a causal relation exists between two things or events. This is an improper conclusion because either such a relationship does not exist or the evidence in support of it is insufficient. It will not be sufficient. So coming to the, we can go to this example. Every time I bring my umbrella with me, it rains. Clearly, if I leave it at home, there will be sunshine. So during my childhood, during that time, there won't be these bikes and cars. There will be very less bikes and cars, and we often depend on the buses to go to my mother's house. So, and there were very few buses to my mother's house. So the problem was that whenever we reach the bus stand, there won't be any buses. But if we go somewhere and we have to go to the same bus stand, we will happen to see there will be a bus to my mother's house. So this is the thing. So we will make such kinds of statements. So these types of fallacies are called causal fallacy because A is happened and B is happened. So A is the cause of B. So we are saying that, okay, I did not take umbrella, and B statement is that there is no rain. So I did not take umbrella, and B statement is that it is raining. So we are connecting that. We are connecting A with B. And the major speciality is that the one thing will be happening prior to the another thing. Both events are not happening simultaneously. One will be happening after one. So that is the thing. So you will understand it when we go to the next one. That is cum hoc ergo propter hoc. So in the previous one, you can see it is post hoc, which means post means after, and cum means together. So with this, therefore, because of this, which means it is an informal fallacy suggesting that when two events happen together, one must cause the other. So when there are two events happening at the same time, and they are happening together. We are connecting it, and we are saying that there is some kind of connection. So after the COVID time, one of the usually cited example is that we used to say that, okay, there is COVID patients are admitted to hospital during the beginning of the COVID season, and they were admitted to hospitals, and people used to say that when a person gets some other diseases, he or she has to depend the hospital itself. But people at that time, they used to say that, okay, nowadays if you go to hospital, you will get COVID from there, because there is no logic in that. They are connecting that COVID patients are there in the hospital, so which means that if you go to hospital, you will also get COVID. So similar example is given. I have noticed that every time I sleep with my shoes on, I wake up with a headache. Therefore, I am convinced that sleeping with one's shoes on causes a headache. So whenever he sleeps with his shoes, he will have a headache when he wakes up. So he concludes that, okay, so he is reaching in a conclusion that, okay, when someone sleeps by wearing shoes, he will surely, without any doubt, he will have this headache. So here the difference between the previous one is that here both events are happening simultaneously, and he is making a conclusion, an error of an error in the reasoning. So that is this cum hoc ergo propter hoc. So then next part is slippery slope fallacy. So slippery slope fallacy is one of the repeatedly asked question in that part. When we consider all the question that comes under this fallacy part, slippery slope is one of the part. So the slippery slope fallacy is a logical fallacy that claims one event or action will lead to another more extreme event or action. This could be by directly causing that follow-up event, setting a precedent for it, or simply creating an environment where that follow-up event can occur. Other names for the slippery slope fallacy include the Damber's fallacy, domino fallacy, and thin end of wedge. And if I remember correctly, there is one more name for this type of fallacy. Just a second. We also call this camel nose fallacy. So with this camel nose, I think most of the people can get the idea, because there is a popular story, Arabic story, which explains the plight of an Arabic sheikh, who permitted his camel to bring its head into his tent while he was sleeping. So what happened is that after that, first the camel's head was only there in the tent. Then after that, he stepped into the tent. Then finally, what happened is that eventually he removed the sheikh out of the tent, and the tent was only for the camel. So here the thing is that here the speciality, I'm not explaining the story, but the speciality of this camel story is that you can see there is we are connecting different things. So first it was the camel who was standing outside, then eventually entering. Then so there is multiple events. So we are connecting different situations, and we are reaching into a conclusion. So for example, allowing smartphones in class leads to using them during exams, causing education system to collapse. So the problem here is that allowing smartphones in class, and the person who is making the argument says that, so okay, if we permit smartphones inside the classroom, they might use it during the exams, and he is reaching in he is going into a far-reaching conclusion that all this allowing smartphones into the class, it will cause the education system to collapse. So here the problem is that he is connecting, or he is connecting it with a large number of follow-up events, and he is reaching into a conclusion. So these types of fallacy is called slippery slope fallacy. Then two-cock fallacy. Two-cock fallacy means it involves rejecting someone's views because of their supposed hypocrisy. So this is that we usually depends upon these kinds of fallacies when we engage in debates with our elders. So here you can see an example. Wilma says, "You cheated on your income tax. Don't you realize that's wrong?" So Walter says that, "Hey, wait a minute. You cheated on your income tax last year, or have you forgotten about that?" So it means that you are no one to question me. So if a statement or if a reasoning have these kinds of elements, we call this two-cock fallacy. So we usually use these types of arguments when we engage in a debate with our elders. So suppose if you can imagine a situation where you or your friend is having a smoke, and he or she is smoking, and at that time an elder person comes, and he might be giving some suggestions or might be advising to stop smoking. And sometimes what happens is that this your friend might have seen this person smoking, so he or she might refer to this thing. So such types of fallacy are called two-cock fallacy. Then this whataboutery, I think I don't need to explain this whataboutery thing, because you already know this. We in our day-to-day conversation we often use this whataboutery thing. Attempt is to discredit an opponent's position by charging them with hypocrisy without directly refuting or disproving their argument. So we won't be refuting or disproving someone's argument. Instead of directly refuting or disproving their argument, we will charge them with hypocrisy or something else. So there is an example given is here. Neighbors argue over the first neighbor's constantly barking dog. So two neighbors are having a quarrel, and the reason is that barking dog. And she claims that. So the owner of the dog claims that your kids were loud last weekend. So these types of statements are called whataboutery, and we often use these types of whataboutery statements. Then comes to this. Then we are coming to this circular argument. So circular argument is an argument takes its proof from a factor. An argument takes its proof from a factor within the argument itself rather than the outside argument. So which means repeating the initial statement, that is the circular argument. So you often have seen this whenever whichever party comes to the opposition party, their usual argument will be like this. So whatever happens, the chief minister should resign from the post. So they will be beginning their argument with saying that, okay, chief minister should resign, and they will be going into detail, and even after all this, they will come repeat the same statement, that is, the chief minister should resign from the post, which means this is a kind of circle. So they will reach from they started. So these kinds of fallacies are called circular argument. Then another one is, it is the begging the question. The fallacy of begging the question occurs when an argument's premises assume the truth of the conclusion instead of supporting it. In other words, you assume without proof the stand or position or a significant part of the stand that is in question. So this thing is that, okay. So this thing is that begging the question means usually when we make a reasoning, there will be a statement part, there will be a reason part. So we say that this is because this is. So this will be a usual structure. But if your reason itself is there in the statement, then such types of fallacies are called begging the question. So sometimes we say, go to your bed because it is your bedtime. So then another example is that, okay, this Apple is the Apple company has the best smartphones because they have good facilities. So the thing is that when we say, first we say that it is the best type of smartphones, and second we say that it has the good facilities. So both are synonyms, and it is we are not giving any kind of scientific evidence or any kind of statistical evidence. So which means that our reason is there itself. The reason itself is there in our initial statement. So such types of fallacies are called begging the question. So now we are coming to the second type of informal fallacy. So first we discussed about the formal fallacy. Then there are two types of formal fallacy that we have discussed. Then we come to this fallacies of presumption, which is the first section of informal fallacy. Now we are coming to the second section, that is fallacies of ambiguity. So fallacy that caused by the lack of clarity or misunderstanding of the words. So if the error is occurred because of the lack of clarity or misunderstanding of words, such types of fallacies are called fallacies of ambiguity. So one thing is that accent fallacy, a verbal fallacy that reasons from two different vocal readings of the same written words. In English, the fallacy typically relies on prosodic stress, the emphasis given to a word within a phrase or a phrase within a sentence. Let me repeat, a verbal fallacy that reasons from two different vocal readings of the same written vowel, same written words, which means that it is up to this pronunciation part. So we all of us know that there is this stress thing. Stress is there. We have to stress certain parts of words, and if we are making some changes, if we alter the stress, the meaning will be different. So this problem is there. So such type of fallacy is called accent fallacy, and this won't be there in the NET examination normally, because until and unless they ask for the name of this fallacy by giving this definition. Otherwise, they are not going to ask any question regarding the accent fallacy. Anyway, I'm giving you an example. So if you say that all men are created equal, so this can mean this can have different meanings. So one can mean that one might argue that all men are created equal, which means that all women are not created equal. Such kind of a meaning can be made out of that statement. And another meaning that we can take is that okay, all men are created equal, which means that all men are, during the time of the creation they were equal, but after that they became unequal. So this is the accent fallacy. Then another one is that equivocation. So equivocation is an important part, and you can see this option in multiple question papers. So the fallacy of equivocation occurs when a key term or phrase in an argument is used in an ambiguous way, with one meaning in one portion of the argument and then another meaning in another portion of the argument. So which means that often we use different words with different meanings in different occasions. So if you give the same meaning in the different occasions, the meaning will be or the whole point of the essence of the statement will be lost. So there is an example given is here: noisy children are a real headache. 2 aspirin will make a headache go away. Therefore, 2 aspirin will make noisy children go away. So in the first part of this example, noisy children are a real headache. So here we are not referring to this physical illness, that is headache, but we are making that okay, noisy children are real headache, which means they are real problem. We are using headache with the meaning problem, and then we are referring using the headache as a physical illness. So 2 aspirin. So the medicine aspirin will make a headache go away. Therefore, 2 aspirin will make noisy children go away. So these types of fallacy is called equivocation. So I think even if you miss some of the fallacies that I have mentioned earlier, you should make note of this equivocation part. Then another one is amphiboly. Amphiboly is a type of informal common fallacy that involves grammatical ambiguity. The fallacy of amphiboly occurs when the grammar of a statement, be it written or spoken, leaves the statement open to multiple interpretation. So when the grammar of a sentence is wrong, or if you have mistaken the statement by interpreting the statement in the way that you think, that will create problem. So here is an example given is: the governor says, save soap and waste paper. Save soap and waste paper. So if I read this like save soap and waste paper, which means that okay, the governor asks people to save both soap and waste paper. Then if I read that okay, save soap and waste paper, which means that you have to save soap then waste paper. So this also creates a kind of ambiguity. So these types of fallacies are called amphiboly. Then another important part, this Strawman fallacy is also very much important. So a Strawman fallacy occurs when someone distorts or exaggerates another person's argument and then attacks the distorted version of the argument instead of genuinely engaging. So I think often we also engages in these types of fallacies in order to win some kinds of debate. So when one person makes an argument, so we will not be directly responding to his argument, but instead we will distort the argument of our friend to an extreme level, then we will engage with that. So here is an example given, a conversation between person 1 and person 2. So first person says that, I think we should increase benefits for unemployed single mothers during the first year after childbirth, because they need sufficient money to provide medical care for their children. And the person 2 responds that, so you believe we should give incentives to women to become single mothers and get a free ride from the tax money of hardworking citizens. This is just going to hurt our economy and our society in the long run. So here the second person's response to the argument made by first person is he's distorting. The second person has distorted the entire argument of the first person, and he is making another kind of statement or another kind of conclusion, which is in an extreme level and which is a response to the distorted version of the first person's argument. So this fallacy is called straw man fallacy. So next is fallacy of composition. So there is both two types of fallacies in relation to which is coming together. So fallacy of composition as well as fallacy of division. So they are opposite. So fallacy of composition means the fallacy of composition is an informal fallacy that arises when one infers that something is true of the whole from the fact that it is true of some part of the whole. So some part of a whole thing will be true, and you are applying that truth regarding a particular part into the whole. The example is, this tire is made of rubber, therefore the vehicle of which it is a part is also made of rubber. So you are saying that, okay, this tire is a part of the whole vehicle, and it's sure that it is true that the tire is made of rubber, and you're saying that since tire is made of rubber, the entire vehicle which is a part is also made of rubber. So these types of fallacy is called fallacy of composition. So since fallacy of division, the next thing that we are going to discuss is the exact opposite, then you can easily get the meaning. So a fallacy of division is an informal fallacy that occurs when one reasons that something that is true for a whole must also be true of all or some of its parts. So something that is true of whole, there will be something that is true of whole, and you are applying that whole thing into a part of the whole. So the exact opposite. For example, so the Australian people are good at surfing. Matt is an Australian, therefore Matt is good at surfing. So this is such type of a statement. So this can occur even I feel that in this situation also. So I have heard that there have been a lot of good sessions in this crash course, and if this session is bad, you cannot apply this to the whole thing, and in the reverse also you cannot apply. So this, if you apply that is this, I'm sorry, that's not a question of you cannot apply, but if it applies, if you are applying especially a peculiarity of the part to the whole, which means it is the fallacy of composition, and if it is in the reverse, it is the fallacy of division. Then we are coming to the third type of informal fallacy, that is fallacies of relevance. So fallacies of relevance means a fallacy that persuades people with irrelevant information, appealing to emotion rather than logic. So these are the fallacies that will be appealing to the emotions, that won't be appealing to any kind of logic or reason. Instead, it will be appealing to the emotions. So coming to the first one, that is appeal to authority fallacy. This fallacy involves accepting a claim as true simply because someone in a position of authority or expertise says it is true. So we are appealing, we are depending on a particular authority, and we are making a statement. So we say that Dr. Smith said so, so it must be true. So you should not follow this. And if I make any mistake in this class, you should not say that, okay, this faculty has said this, so I will answer in this way. So you have to check it according to your preparations and your notes, but at the same time, you should not appeal to authority. So this is the appeal to authority fallacy. This fallacy involves accepting a claim as true simply because someone in a position of authority or expertise says it is true. So that is the example given is the Dr. Smith said it, so it must be true. We usually say that, okay, it is the chief minister said so, so it must be true. There won't be, we don't need to looking for any kind of logical, any kind of logic or reason. So this is the appeal to authority fallacy. Then another one is appeal to popular opinion or ad populum or bandwagon fallacy. So if you refer to internet, you can see that this appeal to popular opinion, ad populum, and bandwagon, these are two different types of fallacies. But at the same time, in essence, these two, which means this ad populum is another name of appeal to popular opinion, and bandwagon is slightly different from the previously mentioned fallacy, but at the same time, they have, in essence, they are the same. So the ad populum fallacy occurs when someone argues that a claim must be true or false because it is popular or widely believed, without considering other evidence or logical reasoning. So if all of you are, if a group of people are following this thing, so we don't need to go for any evidence, we don't need to go for any logic, we simply follow that. So these types of fallacy, this is the fallacy called appeal to popular opinion or bandwagon fallacy. So the example is, everyone knows that astrology is real, millions of people believe in it, so it must be true. So this is the kind of appeal to popular opinion or bandwagon fallacy. So since there is a slight difference between appeal to popular opinion and bandwagon fallacy, we should note that when considering all the previous question papers of UGC NET, you can see both these options won't come together. So if this statement, if the fallacy is a popular opinion or bandwagon fallacy, only one option will be there in the list of the 4 options. So that's why I have combined these 2 into one section. Then next one is ad hominem fallacy. So this fallacy occurs when an argument attacks the person making the argument rather than addressing the argument itself. So rather than responding to the argument, we are attacking the person who made the argument. Instead of addressing the claim or argument, the focus shifts to personal characteristics, flaws, or irrelevant aspects of the person. So, for example, is that you can't trust their argument because they are known to be dishonest. So we are not engaging with their argument. We are not going into the evidence or proof of their argument. Instead of that, we are looking into their personal characteristics, their characteristic flaws. And then we are saying that, okay, we cannot even consider their opinion because they are dishonest or they are culprits. So these types of fallacy is called ad hominem fallacy. Then another one is that gambler's fallacy or Monte Carlo fallacy. The gambler's fallacy, also known as the fallacy of maturity of chances, is the incorrect belief that if a particular event occurs more frequently than normal during the past, it is less likely to happen in the future, or vice versa, when it has otherwise been established that the probability of such events does not depend on what has happened in the past. So most of the people, human beings normally have different kinds of beliefs. So as a person who is from Kerala, I have when we talk to people, we come across these types of fallacies, and one of such fallacies is that if a cat jumps on your way, which means something bad is going to happen. And if you are going somewhere, if you are going for somewhere from your house and someone calls from your back and you turns your head, which means something bad is going to happen. Then another one is that if you happen to see 2 birds on your way, then I think there will be some guest in your home. I'm not clear about that thing. Anyway, such types of fallacies are there. So the thing is that these events does not depend on what has happened in the past. In fact, there is no relation between the 2 events. But at the same time, occasionally or sometimes something might have happened, and there won't be any kind of logical relations between them. But at the same time, we are making some kind of relation between them and saying that. So this is a kind of gambler's fallacy. As the name itself implies that it is a gambler's fallacy. So next one is genetic fallacy. The genetic fallacy is the act of rejecting or accepting an argument on the basis of its origin rather than its content. So on the basis of the origin of a particular argument, we are rejecting or accepting that argument. So this type of fallacy is called a genetic fallacy. So we usually have the habit of, if you purchase a particular mobile phone and it got mobile phone or any kind of electronic gadgets you purchased and it got damaged within 1 week or 2 weeks or within 1 month of use, and if you happen to explain this to your friend, the immediate response of your friend will be that, okay, it is made of China, it is made in China, so it will be like that. So which means that without even asking about the problem or the actual problem or the content of or the content, we are accepting or rejecting that argument based on the origin, whether it is made in which place. So that is the genetic fallacy. Then another one is, so like the equivocation or like the this floppy fallacy, slippery slope fallacy. Another important fallacy is that red herring fallacy. So a red herring fallacy is a form of logical fallacy or reasoning error that occurs when a misleading argument or question is presented to distract from the main issue or argument at hand. Red herring refers to piece of information that is used as a diversion. So when a discussion about a particular issue is happening, and if you are diverting that issue by giving a kind of piece of information, such type of fallacy is called a red herring fallacy. So an example is that journalist asks us, in the recent past, there have been multiple corruption issues in the local government. How do you plan to combat corruption? So the candidate, the political candidate responds as that. So the question is about the corruption. So he responds that I have a solid plan for combating corruption. So he begins with corruption. Then he moves to, and I also have a 10-point plan for creating more job. What we need is economic growth. So the first point is my 10-point employment plan. So the first point in my 10-point is employment. So here he is diverting from the topic. So there is another popular story in Kerala, that is a student was asked in the annual examination to write about cow. So the student begins his answer with that, okay, cow is an animal and we will tie cow with the coconut tree. Then he moves on to describe coconut tree. Coconut tree is very small, very big, very tall. Coconut tree is very tall, and there will be coconuts in every 3 or 4 months there. So this is the thing. So he's asked to describe about the cow, but he is moving to this description on the coconut tree. So this is red herring fallacy, which means strategically or systematically we will be when a person deviates from the actual topic, that is called red herring fallacy. Then another type is appeal to pity fallacy. As the name implies, when you are making a kind of statement, if you are appealing to pity, or if you are arousing, if your intention is to arouse any pity or emotion in the listener, rather than creating a kind of logical or reasonable argument, such type of fallacy is called appeal to pity fallacy. So another name is that argumentum ad misericordiam is another name for appeal to pity fallacy. It occurs when someone evokes sympathy or guilt in an attempt to gain support for their claim without providing any logical reasons to support the claim itself. So he or she won't be providing any logical reasons to support the claim. Instead of that, he will try to gain support by evoking sympathy. So an example is that, could you please change my grade from D to C? I worked really hard for this assignment. I even pulled an all night to finish on time, and my parents will be so much disappointed. So we also depends upon these kinds of fallacies. When we try everything and nothing is going to work, nothing logical or reasonable is going to work, finally our last argument will be like that, okay, we will take the emotional card. So we will try to, without reason or logic, we will try to use the emotional card. So that is the, could you please, please change my grade from D to C, because I worked really hard for this assignment and I spent a whole night on this, and my parents will be so much disappointed. So kind of emotionally blackmailing. So that is the appeal to pity fallacy. Then we are coming to the final part of this fallacy part. So then next is appeal to force fallacy, which means an appeal to force fallacy is an argument that relies on negative consequences if one does not agree with the argument. So if one person is not agreeing with a particular argument, you are using a kind of you are threatening them. So this is the appeal to force fallacy. So an example is that the senator was told that if she did not support the tax reformation bill, her chances of being re-elected next fall would be very low. So the thing is that there is a kind of threatening is there, threatening that okay, if you are not supporting the tax reformation bill, so you won't be elected, you won't be re-elected next time. So this is the appeal to force fallacy. So here we are coming to a conclusion of this informal fallacy, and now we are moving to another type of fallacy which is also seen in the question paper, that is the sunk costs fallacy. So the sunk cost fallacy is our tendency to continue with an endeavor we have invested money, effort or time into, even if the current costs outweigh the benefits. So the thing is that if you have invested your money, your effort or your time into something, and after that you feel that in the process of that thing, you feel that okay, this is going to be an utter waste, or I'm not going to get any kind of benefit from this. Even after having that kind of a recognition, if you're continuing in that if you are continuing in that endeavor, the statement that you make at that time is called fallacy of sunk costs. So the example is that choosing to finish a boring movie because you already paid for the ticket. So you have already paid for the ticket. So even though the movie is very much boring, even though the movie is something that is beyond the expectation, but you are continuing to watch it only because that you paid for the ticket. So I think this applies. I was referring to another lecture regarding this fallacy of sunk costs. So I found the example given by the faculty much interesting. So the faculty has given that an example that okay, some people might have even after their +2, after their 10th standard, they might have chosen science as their subject in their higher secondary because they got computer science as their choice because they got A+ in this IT in 10th standard. Then after that, they might have got good marks in some other subjects. For example, they might have got good marks in English, so that he or she went to graduation in English. Then after, okay, since he has spent 3 or 4 years in English in studying in pursuing graduation in English, okay, then let us go to post-graduation. Then after post-graduation or while in the post-graduation, okay, since you have completed your graduation and post-graduation in English and you have invested your time almost 4 or 5 years in this field, okay, let's write NET examination in English. Then after that, okay, I have completed 5 years, okay, then let's go for PhD because I have already invested 5 years, so let's invest 5 more years. So there won't be, this is not because the course is better, the course is good or something like that. It's only because we have invested our money, we have invested our effort, we have invested our time to this thing. That's why we are following this. So this is the fallacy of sunk costs. Such statements are called fallacy of sunk costs. So this is about the fallacy part. So let me just a second. Let me rewind the parts that we have covered. So first we began with the fallacy. What are fallacies? Then we have discussed 3 questions. Then after that, we came to these 2 types of fallacies, formal and informal fallacy. Then we categorized these fallacies into 2: appeal to probability, then masked man fallacy. Then after that, we went to the discussion of informal fallacy. So mainly there are 3 types of informal fallacy. That are fallacies of presumption, then fallacies of ambiguity, then the third one is fallacies of relevance. And under these there are many subtypes. So one is complex question fallacy, then hasty generalization fallacy is there, third one is fallacy of accident, fourth one causal fallacy or post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy, then cum hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy, then slippery slope fallacy, Tupok fallacy, whataboutery fallacy, circular argument is there, then begging question. So then we came to the second type of informal fallacy, that is fallacies of ambiguity. There is accent fallacy is there, equivocation. So you have to remember this term, equivocation. Then amphiboly is there. Strawman fallacy is also another important fallacy. Fallacies composition is there. Fallacy of division is there. And then we came to the third part, that is the fallacies of relevance. That is the appeal to authority fallacy, appeal to popular opinion, ad populum or bandwagon fallacy, ad hominem fallacy, uh, ad hominem fallacy, gambler's fallacy or Monte Carlo fallacy, genetic fallacy, red herring fallacy. Red herring fallacy is also another important fallacy. Then appeal to pity fallacy, appeal to force fallacy, then fallacy of sunk costs. So now we are moving into the questions that we have discussed in the beginning part. So I will give you few seconds to, you can go through the question, then you can comment on this. If you are able to get the answer after this session, which means you might have understood. If you have any doubt, you can ask. It would be better if all of you can comment your answers. Okay, the answers are coming. Okay, so all of you have rightly answered. It is ad populum, which means appeal to the people. Here, all your friends are going to the party, therefore you should go, which means that there is a public popular opinion or popular decision, that is all of them are going to the party, therefore I am. So this is ad populum. Now the next one, which informal fallacy is committed in the following statement? We should not ban smoking because it is a personal choice and people should have the freedom to do what they want. We should not ban smoking because it is a personal choice. Okay, so that's also an appeal to emotion. That's also true. Then the third one is, which type of fallacy is evident in the following statement? You can't possibly understand what I am going through because you have never been a parent. So you cannot you can't possibly understand what I am going through because you have never been a parent. So here I think you have a confusion. So the answer is that it is the ad hominem, which means that is attacking the characteristics of a person. So you can't possibly understand what I'm going through because you have never been a parent. So you have never been a parent. Since you have never been a parent, you cannot understand what I'm going through. So it is ad hominem. So that is the. Is that clear? If it's clear, I have few more questions. We can go to that questions too. Okay. So this is the question. In the following statement is an example of which logical fallacy? Elephants live in tropical climates where there is plenty of vegetation. So we probably would not see any elephants at the Chicago Zoo. Which type of fallacy is this? Red herring, hasty generalization, fallacy of accident, appeal to authority. So here most of you have commented that it is hasty generalization. Anyone has any other answers? Okay, someone typed it's red herring. Okay. Any other answers? And there is okay. Okay, so there will be a confusion. There is a confusion in this. Okay, there is a confusion in this question. This is elephants live in a tropical climates where there is plenty of vegetation. So this is something that is a general rule. It is a rule. It is a truth or commonly accepted rule that elephants live in tropical climates where there is plenty of vegetation. But at the same time, so we probably would not see any at the Chicago Zoo. But at the same time, where we can see that there is a specific situation where we cannot apply the general rule. So that situation is the zoo. So which means this is a fallacy of accident. So we might have a confusion whether this is hasty generalization or fallacy of accident. But when it comes to hasty generalization, as I have mentioned earlier, hasty generalization happens when you are taking the examples or experiences of few particulars and then you are applying then you are generalizing that thing. So the example that we discussed was that two people from Greece were nice to me, so all the people in Greece would be nice to me. So here the thing is that they're taking the examples of two people. Few particulars were taken and that is applied into a general or that's generalized. So in this case that is different. Here the thing is that first they are giving you a general rule, that is elephants live in tropical climates where there is plenty of vegetation. So then they are giving a kind of accident to that. Then they are saying that so we probably would not see any at the Chicago Zoo. But at the same time, this general rule cannot be applied to this particular situation because this is something that is particular. Am I clear regarding this? Okay. Yeah, this is fallacy of accident. Fallacy of accident is committed by an argument that applies a general rule to a particular case in which some special circumstances makes the rule inapplicable. So here we have given this example. So that is taking a life is a crime and morally wrong. Therefore, termite control is a crime and morally wrong. And here also that we can see, here we give you that this is the elephants live in tropical climates. But at the same time, so this is that is a general rule, but that rule cannot be applicable in this situation. So that's it. So next question is, which of the following is defined as a type of irrelevant conclusion fallacy in which a distracting element is introduced to obscure an opponent's position? So which of the following is defined as a type of irrelevant? Here you are given not an example. Instead of an example, you are given the definition. So which is this? So can you give the answers? Yeah, that is the fourth option is the answer. That is a red herring, which means to deviate from the topic, to deviate from the topic. So whenever this red herring comes to your mind, you should remember the story of the cow and the coconut tree. So that is the red herring, which means that in order to deviate from the topic, they are introducing something in order to irrelevant or giving irrelevant information to distract from the actual debate. So that is the red herring. So this is the conclusion of fallacy part. If you have any doubts, you can ask either in the chat box or if you have the facility of unmuting yourself, you can do that. Otherwise, we can move to the next part. So then, shall we move to the next part? I think we can move to the next part. That is inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So these are most often these types of questions regarding inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning are found in the UGC NET question papers. And the interesting thing is that if you come across this inductive and deductive reasoning definition itself, you can answer to almost all questions, because from my experience, after attending the NET examination for the last 3 times, what I found is that the questions that came from inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning part is very simple, which means it's you can answer even after reading the definition only. So coming to this inductive reasoning. So inductive reasoning employs a set of specific observations to reach a comprehensive conclusion. It is the opposite of deductive reasoning. So we will come to this deductive reasoning. So inductive reasoning employs a set of specific observation to reach a comprehensive conclusion. So which means that we are moving from inductive reasoning is a kind of reasoning that moves from specificity to a general conclusion, which means this is what to say, an inverted triangle. So you will be starting from the bottom, which will be a specific point, then you will be going to this comprehensive or general conclusion, and you will be making a common general conclusion or common rule. So it sets off with a narrow premises and develops into a wider conclusion. So this is a kind of argument that we usually uses. So an example is given here. My neighbor's dog barks at me daily. So daily, my neighbor's dog barks at me daily. At the pet store, all the dogs bark at me. So when I passes the pet store, all the dogs there bark at me. Therefore, all dogs probably hate me. So therefore, since my neighbor's dog as well as the dogs in the pet store bark at me, then all dogs probably hate me. So here the speaker begins from a specific statement and reaches into a large conclusion. So if you happen to see any kind of such reasoning, it will be inductive reasoning. Then the exact opposite of inductive reasoning is the deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning, which means there will be a general idea or general rule will be there, and from that general conclusion you will be coming into a specific thing, which means that this is the type when we apply a particular theory into a literary textbook. For example, if you are applying the theory of Orientalism by Edward Said on a particular text, which means that you are applying the general theory or the commonly accepted theory into a specific text, which means it's a kind of deductive reasoning. So it sets off with the general ideas called premises and applies them to a specific situation. You will be applying them to a specific situation. Rules, laws, theories, and other recognized conventional truths are used to confirm that a conclusion is correct. So here as an example is given, all violin make sounds. Aeroplanes make sounds, therefore aeroplanes are violin. So although this example seems illogical, the thing is that the first one is general statement, that is all violin make sounds, and then coming that aeroplanes make sounds, aeroplane also makes sounds, therefore aeroplanes are the violin. So coming to a general conclusion. So this type of reasoning is called deductive reasoning. So you have to keep in mind that inductive reasoning is something that starts from a specific, then coming to a general conclusion. Then the deductive reasoning that starts from a general conclusion or general idea, then reaching into a specific thing. So you should not be confused regarding this inductive and deductive reasoning part. So I think in the last NET examination or in the exam before that, there was a statement was given, an example was given and asked that whether this is inductive, as an example of inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning. So such type of question was there. So any doubts from this part? Actually, I wanted to add some more examples regarding this deductive reasoning. but since have to prepare all the PPTs, I couldn't add some examples. So let me read out one more examples of this inductive and deductive reasonings. So another example of inductive reasoning is that uh, the cost of college has been increasing over the past several decades. So the cost of college has been increasing over past several decades. And the next statement is that therefore higher taxes on the rich are probably the best way to help middle class American thrives. So here the thing is that first it makes a kind of specific statement, that is the cost of college has been increasing over the past several decades. So beginning from a specific, then moving into a larger conclusion that higher taxes on the rich are probably the best way to help the middle class American thrive. Then coming to another example of deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning means starting from a general conclusion, then reaching into the specificity. So the general statement is that all organs are made out of living tissue. All organs, all of the organs are made out of living tissue. This is the general conclusion. Then says that all humans have organs. All of the humans have organs. Therefore, all humans are made out of organs. Therefore, all humans are made out of organs. So this is an example of deductive reasoning. So that's it. So now we can move into our third part. If you have, do you have any doubts from this area? Okay. So now the next problem is that this square of opposition part. The major problem is that two problems are there. One thing is that I was not able to prepare the slide of that part, that is there. And the second thing is that even if we start that thing, we won't be able to finish that. Anyway, I think I can give you some basic introduction into that area. Let me share the screen. So I hope the word file is visible to you. So here we are coming to this categorical preposition. So a preposition means, preposition simply means a statement. So preposition, it simply means a statement. So a preposition simply means a statement. So then what is the difference between a preposition and a categorical preposition? A categorical preposition means there will be something before the preposition that makes the statement more perfect. For example, so a statement is that dogs are animal. Dogs are animals. So this is a preposition. This is a statement, and this statement becomes a categorical preposition when we put something like all, or when we put all, which means this is a categorical preposition, or when we put no. When we put no here, it is also a categorical preposition. Then another type is that when we put some here, some dogs are animals. Some dogs are animals. And when we put some dogs are not animals. So these are the basic 4 types of categorical preposition. So first one thing is that all dogs are animals. So here this is all is an important part. Then the no dogs are animals. So this is the again second type. And third part is some dogs are animal, and the fourth part is some dogs are not, which means that some not. So okay, some not. So these are the basic 4 types of categorical preposition. So now we can see that these types of prepositions are divided into mainly 4 categories. So first category is that first type of 2 types of categories are there. First type of category is that uh, whether they are universal or particular. So whether the given prepositions or categorical prepositions are universal or particular. So this is the first type of first premise based on which we are categorizing this. So just a second. So whether they are universal or particular. So universal, as the term implies, universal means something that applies to the all subjects. So this here, okay, that's another thing. Here, dogs, the term dogs is the subject, and the animals is the predicament. So when the subject is, when we are applying something that is to the whole community or whole group of this subject, that is called universal. So when we say that all dogs are animals, whether this when we use all as a preposition as a category in this statement, can you please answer whether this statement is whether the dogs are universal or particular when we use all?
Universal.
Universal. Okay, you are right. So it is universal. So which means that when the all comes, this categorical preposition, it is universal. Then what about this no? Is it universal or particular? When we say no, yeah, that's also universal, because at the first sight we might see that okay, we might seem that okay, this is not universal because it says that no dogs, but at the same time this no applies to the whole dogs, whole community of the whole group of dogs, so it is also universal. Then this what about this some? Is it universal or particular?
Particular.
Particular. And also some note is also particular. So this is the first thing. Then the second type of categorization is that whether it is affirmative or negative. So as the name implies, affirmative means whether it affirms the statement or whether it negates the statement. Universal or particular, similarly it is whether it is affirmative or negative. So considering this statement, all dogs are animals. Is it an affirmative or negative?
Affirmative.
Affirmative. Then no dogs are animal. Is it an affirmative or negative? It is negative because it says that no dogs are animals. So it is obviously it is negative. So then some dogs are sorry. Just a second. Coming to this. Okay, yeah. Okay. No dogs are animals. It's negative because it says that no dogs. It's not a positive tone. Then this is the some dogs are animals. Is it affirmative or negative?
Affirmative.
It's affirmative because it says that some dogs are animals. Then the final one is some dogs are not animals. Is it affirmative or negative?
Negative.
Negative. So I'm coming to the basic conclusion that, so this has a second part, but I'm not going to that part. So when it is a statement that starts with all, which means it is universal as well as affirmative. Then when it comes to this no dogs are animals, it is universal and negative. Universal and negative. Then some dogs are animal, which means it is particular and affirmative. Then some dogs are not animal, it is particular and negative. So this is a common rule that we have to study. And in the studies of categorical proposition, we are giving this a kind of code, which means A is given to this thing, and E is given to this thing, and I is given to this, then O is given to this, which means in the order of the vowels A, E, I, O, U, we are giving this let me give some other color. So this is, so these types of statements which are universal and affirmative, that are called A. These types of categorical proposition, A will always be universal and affirmative. Categorical proposition E will always be universal and negative. Categorical proposition I will always be particular and affirmative, and categorical proposition O will always be particular and negative. So this is the basic idea that we should have when we study about the categorical proposition. And after this, we have to go to this distributed and undistributed part. And for that, one thing is that it requires much time. And the second part is that I don't have the slide with me. It's essential. Slides are essential to discuss that part. Anyway, I'm planning to wind up this part with here itself, and I will try to give you the notes regarding this, but I'm pretty sure that since I don't have slides and I made some error statement while discussing this, I'm pretty sure that this part might not be clear to you. Anyway, I will try to give you notes regarding this part before your NET examination. So apart from this, I think the rest of the parts are clear. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise, I think we can wind up. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Yeah, since you don't have any doubt, I think we can conclude. So thank you for your responses. And for me personally, this is my first JRF session, JRF coaching session, and I'm thankful to the organizers once again for giving me this opportunity. Anyway, I wish all of you all the best, and hope to see you all in posters. Okay, Sana, do you have any doubt? I think someone has raised a hand. Okay, it might be by mistake. So anyway, I wish all of you a very good success and hope to see you in posters of JRF qualifiers. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I say my heartfelt thanks to the faculty, Mr. Shaheen Ahmed, sir, for this excellent session, and to all the participants for cooperating us. And a big thanks to MSF EFLU Hyderabad for conducting such an insightful crash course. And once again, thanks to all.